Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Wace and today I am on location in Chicago, more specifically Schaumburg. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. You Chicagoans will yell at me if I don't in the comments down below. But I'm actually here at Six Star Motorsport. This is a place that Graham actually also tunes at, and heard a lot of stuff, great stuff about this place, and I was like, you know what? I wanted to continue my year of tours, and this just happened to be another spot that popped up. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be talking to Chris, who's the general manager over here, who also does own a VB, and actually it's this VB right here, and it's the same one that Graham helped, that I actually had on the Tuner Talk thumbnail when I did Graham, just like this last, I think it was this last Tuner Talk that we did. It is tuned, it is a GT, and there's a lot of really cool stuff I want to talk about. Now, there's a lot of other cars in here besides the VB as well, so we're just going to pop in there and kind of take a look around at what we have, and Chris is a wealth of knowledge. We were actually talking for a while before I started this, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So as cool as this is, the unfortunate thing is, for some reason, it is actually snowing in Chicago. I didn't plan this, and I honestly didn't expect it to be snowing, so I don't know how much of road stuff we're going to be able to do. Obviously, I can't throw the 360 camera on the back because I don't know if the mounts will actually stick in this actually, you know what? The mounts will stick, but I don't know if the camera is actually going to work. But we're still going to take this car out because I still haven't driven an SPT, so I'm really excited to be able to drive this. But let's hop inside and take a look at the rest of the engine bay, or the bay itself, because there's tons of really, really cool cars here. All right, let's head inside. I want to talk to Chris about all the cool stuff he's got back here. Hey, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me here today.
No problem. Thanks for coming by.
Okay, so like you guys know, I'm here at Six Star Motorsport. I'm very excited to be here. Chris, thank you again for letting me come here.
No problem. I appreciate you coming out.
People know I like to write things down. I like to write things down because I tend to ramble a lot. So I've got a couple of questions for you, but it's going to be more conversational. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris.
Okay, well, my name is Chris Sproston. I'm the manager of here, Six Star Motorsports. I've been working here for just about 4 years. I was actually living in Florida when before I took the job here, and down there I worked for another Subaru performance shop, which is called Brown's Performance. Okay. They're like a direct competitor to DRP, real close by. So that's pretty cool. A lot of Subaru stuff going on down there. But I guess I've been working in Subaru performance for around about 10 or 12 years or so. I got my first Subaru back in 2010. It was a narrow body hatchback, actually. Oh, wow, man. Got that. I kind of fell in love with the Gymkhana videos, like Gymkhana 3, with the hatchback and stuff.
Okay, hold on. You said narrow body. Yeah. Did you like the way the narrow body looked, and did you get shit about it?
No, I didn't like the way that it looked, but at the time I couldn't afford an STI, and the wide body hatchback wasn't out at that time, so. I got a really good deal on a one owner, very low mileage, lightning red hatchback, and then I picked that up, and like I said, I couldn't afford the STI at that time, so I started modifying it myself via YouTube videos in my garage, and then I moved to Florida shortly after that. But after I modified it, actually, I was living in Iowa, and Graham was kind of the up-and-coming tuner in that area. So we actually tuned the car on the street. I met him at his house, in Des Moines, and that was kind of how, kind of led me, honestly, into the industry and getting even working here. But it's pretty cool. So 2013, I moved to Florida. I was kind of like a glorified YouTube mechanic at that time, and I actually was going down to Florida to go to MMI for motorcycle technician, because I was more into motorcycles than I was cars at the time. And then my wife moved down, found out that we were expecting our first kid, and instead of going to school, I was like, man, I need to get a job so I can pay for this kid. So I kind of dropped out of school before it even started. Just called them and told them, sorry, this isn't going to work out. And I got a job for Firestone Complete Auto Care,
okay.
funny enough. And I kind of had like a larger mechanical background. Just I came from a family of mechanics, and they all did the work themselves. So I was like a mechanic's hand most of my life, and was really into building model cars and just, automotive in general. And that kind of spiraled into one time going to a Subaru meet and meeting up with the owner of it was called D&L Performance at the time, and now Brown's Performance. And he was looking for some extra help. So I quit Firestone, started working there, and then we worked there for about 4, maybe 5 years, and then we were really far away from family. Wanted to get back here because all our family is in the Midwest area, so we moved back here. I got linked up with Six Star through Graham, and they were kind of looking for somebody in my expertise. And then that kind of rolled into me being the manager of the place a couple of years later. So here we are.
Man, that was a hell of a up and down story. Because I always wonder how people get into the industry, especially get into cars. Usually it's well, I used to do it when I was younger, or somebody was doing it, and that's when I really think about it. That's actually true, because I started in IT, and the only reason I ended up in IT was I lived with my uncle, or my uncle lived with us, and he was an electrical engineer. He kept bringing computers home. He kept bringing video games home. So 20 years later, now I got to do IT because his ass lived with us. So that actually makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned Graham, and I know Graham does tune with you guys. I know Graham is actually supposed to be here Monday, and I did talk to him about this, but I'm not going to be here when he gets back. So tell me, so you met up with Graham, and you guys literally tuned the car while you just sitting on the street?
Yeah, we road tuned the car via open source back then. It was 2010 probably. So I met him at his house, and we went on some backcountry road and did rips on the street and made adjustments, pulled over, flashed the car, and it was kind of back and forth, maybe a 45-minute, hour experience, and then I drove home back to it was Eastern Iowa. But yeah.
What year was that?
That was I think about 2010. And then when I moved to Florida and started working for the other shop, we kind of went through a couple tuners down there, and it wasn't really working out. So I contacted Graham, and I asked him, hey, you remember me? I'm the guy, with the red
car on the street?
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember you, So I was like, hey, how would you like to tune Subarus in Florida? And he was kind of looking to expand at that time anyway, so he started flying up or down, I guess, there, and tuning cars for us there for about 3 years.
That's I haven't actually even gotten a chance to sit down and do this with Graham. This kind of makes me want to get him to sit down and just maybe the next tuner talk I'll have him, instead of asking him cars questions, I'm just going to ask him about how the hell did you start doing all this stuff? Because he does travel to other places, and he's doing a lot of stuff. I know that's one thing that people ask me all the time is he's a busy guy, so sometimes getting a hold of Graham is a little hard to do. But I mean, he has expanded beyond Subarus now. I mean, you said he was I know he's doing Corvettes, and I know he loves his Corolla, and I'm gonna go see him here in a month and a half, and we're gonna find out exactly what he's doing.
He's got a lot going on. When I first ran into him, I think he was doing software engineering, and he was just doing tuning on the side. That wasn't even his primary source of income. And I think he kind of got more popular to the point where he could kind of make that leap to do that full time, and then it's just kind of snowballed into the monster it's become for him. So he's staying pretty busy.
A monster is correct, because I know that Graham was the first one to tune my VB, and it would just so happen to be that way because Graham was tuning for Ecotech at the time, and I was like, hey, can you guys do anything? He's like, yeah, we got this guy. He's really good. He doesn't live here, but he'll take care of you. Yeah. And the more I talked to him, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And he was actually the first one to do tuner talk, so I got a massive wealth of knowledge from that guy. There really isn't anything about cars that he doesn't know, that at least for Subarus that I know of. But it's good to hear a story like that where people can come from a different field And it's never too late to switch to something, because I'll be honest, I'm tired of doing IT. I've been in IT for 20 years. If you ask me tomorrow to go back there and start doing some shit with cars, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do it.
Well, I think a lot of Subaru people start off in IT for whatever reason, but I think, IT Subaru people kind of just have, they just develop a liking for these particular vehicles for whatever reason. But I didn't come from IT, so I'm not really sure why. But for me, I kind of got into it just from, seeing like Rallycross through the X Games as a kid, and seeing these things rip, and then watching the first couple Ken Block Gymkhana videos. So
man, yeah.
that's kind of what sucked me into Subarus, because I was like, oh man, I wanna do that with my Subaru, And then later on, I found that it takes a lot of money to do that.
In general, yeah.
Yeah, so I broke some stuff trying to do dumb things that I seen in videos, which was a really bad idea. Don't do that. And then that kind of just rolled into me, working in the industry, and it's definitely a job that I enjoy. It doesn't feel like work, and everybody wants a job like that, and I kind of more or less just kind of fell into it, just from social networking, I guess, and it's kind of just rolled into where I'm at right now. But I wouldn't take anything back. It's really fun and rewarding career.
Yeah. So I'm 39. I'm still looking for that job that doesn't feel like a job. I've been doing this for so long, and every time I talk to somebody in the car community, I'm like, how? And I think over time, I'm slowly like starting to find that the more I do this, I've been doing this now like a year and a half, and it's not like I'm not a mechanic, but like I enjoy everything that people see. Maybe because it's just so different from what I'm doing. And I talked to Graham. I was like, hey, maybe I just started learning how to tune. Maybe I can be your protege. Maybe you can like teach me how to do this stuff. I could just like do it on my own car.
He's gonna need some help eventually. I'm sure that the snowball of business is gonna catch up with him one of these days.
Well, I'll have to keep that in mind.
He's a very busy guy, so I think that he's probably just waiting for the right person to do something like that. You never know.
It could be. All right, man, that was really good. So I wanted to talk more. Obviously, you have this beautiful shop. There's tons of really cool shit back there. Actually, Chris and I were walking around the shop well before we even started recording this, which usually that's what ends up happening to me. I end up spending like 2 hours with somebody. I'm like, oh, I should record this stuff. There's a lot of really cool things here. There's a lot of shop projects, like not even just like what I would consider just like your daily car. You have like a lot of really cool race applications back there.
Yeah, we do quite a bit here. So not only just maintenance, but daily driver stuff. Someone comes in and they want to make 300-400 horsepower with their daily. They want it to be reliable. We do stuff like that. We do full race cars. We do stuff that's like weekend track cars that they can drive it to the track. Maybe they don't want to daily it, but it's totally street capable. And then kind of everything in between. So got a lot going on all the time here. We stay pretty busy. We're usually booked out a couple weeks at least through the year. Some people don't like that, but it is what it is, But,
you got to make appointments, man.
Yeah, you got to make appointments. But no, it's a lot of fun. I think Six Star. I want to say this company started maybe 13, 14 years ago. It used to be called before then DS1. Actually, one of the employees, who's the owner of the company now, ended up taking over. His name's Sammy So he's running around here somewhere. But Sammy, kind of took over. Long story short, it turned into Six Star, and then they kind of cycled around this particular area of town to a couple different buildings, real small, and then into this place, which is about 15,000 square foot now.
Yeah, it's a nice shop. This was a recent move. This was a recent move, right?
It was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So literally the time that I came up here, they had just got into this building like a few months, before then.
Because I was telling Graham that I was coming out here, and he was like, "Yeah, you should definitely go because they have this new facility. It's really, really nice." And I was like, "I didn't even know what the old facility looked like."
No, I didn't actually see the old facility myself. Seen some pictures. It was really small, so no way we would be able to do the amount of stuff that we do here in there. So it definitely has become quite an animal for sure since the beginning. We've went through a lot of changes, and I think, you know, right now we're kind of in our best phase yet. So we've definitely gone through a lot of growing pains, but we're in a good spot now.
All right, cool. Chris, well, thank you so much. Guys, I hope you don't mind this really crappy mic that I have. I know people have complained about the audio for these interviews a lot, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to make sure we get it right this time. So do you mind showing us some of these projects that you have in the back?
Let's do it. I can show you around and kind of show you what we got going on.
All right, cool. Let's do it. All right, Chris, take us in. Show us some of the stuff.
All right, so this is our facility here. Where we're standing in right now is kind of our tear down area. So it's where all the engines that we tear out get torn apart and everything gets cleaned. When we do an engine here, we have to reuse a lot of the hardware for, say, like valve cover gaskets, sometimes oil pans and things like that. So we don't want to put any dirty parts back on an engine. So part of the, you know, the labor that's, you know, occurred when you do a job here is for us to take everything apart and clean it. That when we put everything back, nothing's contaminated and everything's clean. So we've got a bunch of stuff going on. This particular car here was built by us back in 2016. It comes in and out all the time for different updates and stuff. So this current update was just a PWR radiator and some odds and ends that the customer just wanted to change because, you know, a lot's changed since 2016. So he's just trying to make sure the car stays relevant. It was featured in D-Sport magazine back then. And the car actually came here brand new from the dealership. A customer purchased it and wanted to modify it day one, so he literally picked it up, brought it here with basically no miles on it, and then they tore it all apart, and it kind of became what it is today. A lot of the things that, you know, it needs to have to be green speed compliant aren't there. But
what's the power on this?
This thing makes about 850 wheel horsepower, I believe. So it's pretty spunky. And power band from it is, I think, around 4,500 to 8,500 RPM. Wow. So it's pretty crazy power band. Kind of a customer green speed project. Customer kind of always wanted a track car. He had gone through a couple of Subarus. One actually got stolen from him, unfortunately. That was a really clean GD. So he got this one, you know, a few years back. Kind of went through a few different phases, and he brought it into us to kind of make something that was, you know, more or less really track capable engine-wise. And then we're kind of every once in a while doing updates to kind of roll it into what that, you know, as he can afford it kind of thing. So it's got a IAG 900 long block and a Garrett G30 900 turbo, running 1700cc injectors, conservatively making about 600 wheel horsepower, full green speed. So it's got cats, got TGVs, got air pumps and everything. Still got AC in it. Pretty cool.
All right, Chris, tell me about this crazy thing up here.
All right, so this particular car is actually owned by the same gentleman that owns Skunk Works, the red car. And it's, you know, 100% intended purpose is just to be a track beast. So it's going to be either track mod or unlimited class. We haven't exactly solidified which yet, but this is going to be, you know, full tube. Nice cage made out of Dokal R8, so it's really lightweight cage material, very strong. And we're going to be possibly powering it with a FA24. It's going to be using a X-Shift sequential gearbox. It'll be on either a Motec or M-Tron ECU, and it's going to be, you know, hopefully, you know, one of the coolest, most advanced Subaru race cars, you know, that exist, hopefully.
I will definitely have to come back for this because to see, it's a GC coupe, right?
Yeah.
It's going to have an FA24 in it with a sequential gearbox. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And I wonder if this guy will, when he gets it made, maybe he'll want to do like a video on it, because that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The only other car I know that's been like that is Prime Motoring actually did a Hawkeye with an FA24.
Yeah, that one was really cool.
I actually asked him, I said, I got to get you guys on the channel one of these days. We just haven't been able to make timings work, but they also won't send me a ticket to fly up there.
Yeah, no, that car is pretty sick. This particular one, you know, he already has 2 EJ powered, you know, kind of multi-purpose track cars. So we wanted something that was kind of strictly track oriented, and we didn't want to make something that was exactly the same as what he already has, because it wouldn't make any sense, you know, having 3 of one thing. So we've kind of gone through different phases of what we're wanting to go, you know, direction-wise with it, and we decided, you know, due to the newfound durability of the FA24 in stock form and IAG's development of, you know, a built block, that would probably be really cool to kind of develop with that. So.
All right, Chris, so we're talking about an FA24 in this GC. You actually have a VB.
I do. The VB is it was kind of like a love-hate for me when I first seen it in pictures, and I seen you know, the initial release. Absolutely hated it. Thought it was ugly. Definitely hated the cross-track looking, you know, fender flares and everything. At that time, I was kind of into, you know, like rally and off-roading, and I had like kind of an overland built Forester, but a WRX, you know, what I wanted out of a WRX wasn't exactly what, you know, they presented to us. And as we started working on them here and modifying them and kind of learning what their limitations were, I drove a couple of them myself, and I was like, wow, you know, chassis-wise, it feels really good. I want to say it kind of reminded me of, you know, the chassis rigidity of, say, like a GT STI. It felt very planted and really rigid, and it was fun to drive even in factory form. So I was kind of in the market for a new car because my overland build had, you know, almost 300,000 miles on it. And I was like, you know what, I think I might want to get a VB. So I went to the local dealership, and they actually had a GT model there. And I was reading on the GT, didn't know a whole lot about it, but I did read the fact that it was, you know, CVT transmission, which, you know, immediately kind of deterred me from even wanting to look at it. But after the reviews that I read and a couple of YouTube videos that I seen on it, I was just kind of interested to see how, you know, how it drove. So I went to Grand Subaru here locally, and they happened to have one that they'd been kind of hanging on to for a little while. And Sammy and I went and drove it, and I was really surprised, honestly, at how it drove. It didn't feel like a CVT at all. And I'm kind of at the point where, you know, I'm not trying to make a whole bunch of power. I just want something that's nice to drive and it's fun. And that thing was really fun to drive, you know, even factory, no modifications. So I decided to pick one up.
All right, guys, so Chris is nice enough to let me try out his GT, and you guys know, I have never driven an automatic at all. I've actually never even sat inside an automatic, and already these seats are incredible. These are the Recaros.
Yes.
And damn.
No, they feel awesome.
Nice. They feel really nice.
Definitely, you know, when I first drove this at the dealer, as soon as I got in there and sat in the seats, I was like, oh man, this feels amazing. This is great.
They're so, they're stiff, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Because like mine, you sit down and you just like sink into it, and like, especially when I'm racing, I'm all over the place. I feel like this actually, obviously we can't race today, it's like snowing, but this actually feels really good. So here's what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna drive. We're gonna go through the drive modes and just like feel everything. So right now we're gonna start in comfort, and we'll talk about like what's going on. But I'm gonna start driving this. I want to feel this. Tell me what's been done to this car.
So this car's pretty much got the full Cobb Stage 2 package on it. So it's got the Cobb intake tube, the panel filter, the Redline carbon intake scoop, and then it has the Cobb charge pipe and the Cobb top mount intercooler, and then the Cobb titanium exhaust.
Okay. Oh man, I really like the Cobb titanium. If there's an exhaust I would switch to, it's probably that. Because I heard it, because if you guys remember, the Felix Performance car actually has it on there, and that thing's making 600 some horsepower, and it's still, if to the unassuming person, it sounds like just a regular WRX with maybe an axle back. That's how chill it is. Mm-hmm. Is that the experience? Like, is that how it is for you?
I think it's, you know, I would call it like, you know, it's like an adult catback. You know, it's like something you're not trying to be loud, obnoxious. you don't want to get a headache when you're driving the car. But it's quiet, but it gives you the exhaust note when you want it to. You know, if you're just driving chill, you're cruising down the highway, you know, 2,000 RPM, 2,500 even, it doesn't really make much noise at all, and it's not drony. But if you step on it, it's gonna give you some noise.
This already is like so comfortable, even versus like the stock suspension on the WRX, the manual WRX. This is much softer. Like, it's far more comfortable, because I remember the stock suspension is really bumpy.
Oh yeah, you know, so right now we're in comfort, so that defaults power to, you know, intelligent, so like really chill, low boost, and then the suspension is, you know, basically full soft, and you can definitely tell a difference for sure.
Yeah, so like there's a couple of things Chris were telling me you can change, like steering wheel, suspension, the all-wheel drive, and the power. So like right now, I put my foot down, and it's like, actually, it feels like I'm driving my wife's SUV. You know, it's chill. It's not like crazy, but like I feel like this is like, if you're drunk, you shouldn't be driving the car. Yeah. But you know those days when you're just like, oh man, I just want to get home. I just want it to be the most comfortable ride. I feel like comfort is where you go for.
Or say you're on a long road trip and you're not trying to, you know, ride around in a bounce house, something firm that's gonna make you nauseous when you're driving it. You can make the car kind of perform to, you know, what you feel like driving that day.
This is like, so I got the foot down like maybe halfway, and that's all it did. That's really interesting, but that makes sense. Like it's in comfort mode, and
Graham has kind of individually programmed each mode too. So
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, every particular mode we've adjusted. You know, how much throttle response are you going to have? You know, how much boost is it going to make?
So that's a word for you guys with the CVTs. I didn't even know that kind of tuning was possible in this car. The fact that you can make those changes per mode. Got the popo on this road.
Well, and that's one good thing about, you know, your cob axis port over the JB4, because you have the ability to do that. And you know, it's not a piggyback system, so you can really fine tune everything.
Yeah, because like a lot of the guys that I know in the CVT community haven't really switched over to cob. There's still some are still using the JB4.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you spend money on something, it's kind of hard to have to buy something over again, and then, you know, undo everything you did.
All right, so that was comfort. I feel like that's okay. So like we're just gonna move it over to normal, and so that still left the power in intelligent, but the steering suspension is in normal now. So let's see what the steering. I just can't believe that it's raining. I'm so upset. It's snowing. It's so hard to like really tell like if it got that much bumpier. I mean, you've been driving it, so you tell me that this.
I'll say it's slightly firmer now.
Slightly firmer, yeah. Most of these that are rolling over, I'm rocking a little bit more.
Yeah.
But with obviously with the power still sitting in I, it's still very smooth. Like it's still. You know what? I feel like it's the seats. The seats are giving me this extra feel of like. It's smoother than it may already be.
You definitely feel planted, like you're not going anywhere when you set these. You know, I guess downside is they're more made for smaller frame people like ourselves.
Yeah.
I know when larger people get in there, it's kind of it's a downer because it's so thin and narrow.
I can imagine the shoulder bolstering or like the lat bolstering. This would be an issue if you were a little bit wider, because I'm a thin guy, but I have wide shoulders, and so like my shoulder blades actually have to come forward a little bit. Versus like, let's say if I was a little bit thinner, like my arms and my shoulders would be inside that bolstering. But I mean, it's for comfort, but also like it's weird that they put these in here because these are the ones I want to be ripping around on the track on versus the regular ones. All right, is there a spot that we can go to like kind of really let this go?
If you get to the stoplight, you take a right there. It's gonna run kind of along the toll road, so that'll be a good spot for you.
I gotta drive like everybody else in Chicago and be crazy. Boy, people in Chicago drive wild.
Oh, you ain't kidding. It's a pretty crazy place.
Just a right on here?
Yep.
All right. So, but the what's cool is like you can change all these like on the fly, which is the one thing I did like about
stay to the right, and we'll kind of be,
okay.
you know, on this.
Perfect.
Not too much
Okay.
traffic here.
This is, once we get going, I'm really curious to see how, because like when you're normally driving, you just leave it like this. But
Yeah.
like, you know, we can use paddle shifters to shift too. Now, is there any changes that happened with tuning to adjust the way it shifts or anything?
So we don't have that capability yet.
Okay. All right, so now we got it in sport. The only thing it changed was the power unit is now showing in S mode. So now, obviously it's wet, so we can't really rip it too hard, but I'm gonna go a little bit faster than I did before.
Go ahead.
Dude, that is like not like a CVT at all.
Feels good, right?
And it shifts like you were saying, like a DC. It imitates a DCT shifting.
Yeah.
Like it's like rah, rah, rah.
So if you take a left here, and then another left at the light, it'll kind of bring us on the other side.
Got it. And then we'll
We
throw
kind
it
of
in
just do the loop a couple times.
That's actually a good idea. So steering stayed in normal, suspension in normal, power unit went up to S. Now after this, when we go around the corner, we'll put everything into Sport Plus, and that's going to move everything into S Sharp, Sport, Sport, Sport. Now explain again what the so there's an all-wheel drive button here as well that goes between normal and Sport. What's that about?
So Sport kind of makes it a little more rear bias. Now, I haven't really messed with it too much except for a little bit in the snow, and I could definitely tell that the rear end was a little more tail happy in the Sport setting.
Because I thought, at least in the older all-wheel drives, or the older CVTs, Subaru always kept a slight rear-wheel bias. Like, I mean, it was like 5%. It would be like 45, 55. Usually in the old automatics.
No, it definitely is, you know, it could be a little fun.
Oh,
definitely, you know.
All right, so we'll put it into Sport Sharp here. Now I look forward to seeing what the suspension is.
When doing this, the factory transmission shift points do change. So you're going to notice that it holds gears for longer when it's in Sport Sharp.
Ah, yeah. Even if I'm not going like full tilt on it, before it was shifting at like 3,000, now it let it go up to 4,000.
Yep.
Interesting. That feels pretty incredible, actually. The fact that this is like an automatic. But now I do feel this is what the manual felt like when I first got it. Just bouncing on the bumps.
Yep.
This is the feeling that I had.
It's firm, for sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
You can see in Sport Sharp is where, you know, it also like auto rev max.
I heard that.
For you.
I did hear it do that. As I was like coming to the stop sign or the stoplight, it was kind of like blipping the throttle. Interesting. I am surprised. I knew that it was nowhere near as bad as what everybody was saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was surprised myself. I've been in all sorts of different Subarus.
That is interesting.
It's definitely not bad. You know, anything that you would expect that it would be, it's not.
It really isn't. You're absolutely right. Yeah. All right. So how do we
Left.
go? Just left.
You gotta go all the way to the left, and then we'll go under the
and then just make a
overpass
loop.
and make a loop. Yep.
Got it. Yeah, because the only experience I have with the automatic was the buddy I was telling you about that had the automatic. My other buddy had a manual. They were both completely stock, and we raced them. And I was in the manual, and they were both in the automatic, and like it was neck to neck the entire time. Now a higher gear, if we started, was a little bit harder for the SPT to keep up. But if we were at like 20, 30, 40, they did not budge. And I was a little surprised about that. But then you were saying earlier about the dyno. And this dynoed how much?
Yeah, so stock, no parts, no nothing. It dynoed around 260, 265 to the wheels.
Yeah, and that's mine dynoed 261 on the dyno. That was at Ecotech, which I am surprised that it does that, because normally when you get an automatic, it's lower. It's even like the shifting from the exhaust, it's a very specific pop.
It's pretty cool.
Dude, this actually is a lot of fun to drive.
Absolutely. No, I mean, when I got in stock form, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then after I started modifying it and kind of turning it up a little bit, I was like, yeah, this is great. It's right where I want it. I know it's not going to make 600 horsepower. That's not why I bought it. I bought it because it drives really smooth. It's fun to drive. If I want it to be cush that day, I can make it.
You can do it,
you know?
yeah. And it's really cush.
It's great.
So how much? So this is pretty much it's the stage 2 cop package.
Yes.
What is the power that this is currently making?
So we're making about 304 wheel horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque.
That's not bad for a daily. That is, for a comfortable daily. That's a good power. Now, are there a lot of tracks around here that you could possibly take this to?
There's quite a few in our area. We got Autobahn, Blackhawk, and then a couple hours over Gingerman. So I have not tracked it. I just got it in October, so I just started tearing into it right away. So I haven't really gotten a chance to do that.
Dude, that's quick. Yeah, and it's this whole simulating of the gears is pretty damn good.
It's impressive.
This really is good. And that exhaust sound, I know you guys may not be able to hear it exactly the way that we're hearing it, but like normally you have like because how fast it is, it's like these small like pop 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 pop. And you know, how many gears does it simulate? Does it go up to 7 or 8? 8 gears. Okay. I am pleasantly surprised, and also at the same time not really surprised, because this is what I expected. Everything that I've heard from people who have an SBT or a GT have said exactly what you're saying. Like it is really good. Obviously, tuning aside, stock for stock, for the first time, I feel like the WRX manual and automatic are exactly the same.
Yeah, it feels good. Power wise, driving wise, it feels the same. I think that personally, being that I own it, I prefer the electronics and suspension of the auto. Especially after driving a whole bunch of manual ones.
Yeah.
If they paired that with a manual, man, they'd sell like hotcakes, I think. I don't plan on doing coilovers or anything, so it doesn't bother me that it has electronic dampening.
Right.
So I prefer the capability of the factory suspension.
But that Cobb exhaust sounds really good. I like it. It's it's such a great balance between the stock exhaust and something aftermarket, where I hear it, but it is, like you said, it is not obnoxious at all. Yeah. And yeah, right now in suspension and sport, this is what a stock manual VB feels like. Almost exactly. When it was on comfort, dude, I thought I was riding in my wife's SUV. Like, it was chill.
Just cush.
Yeah, this is very nice. And
So-
these seats. These seats are amazing.
If you want to be able to control the shifting, you
yeah.
can actually do it without putting it into its manual mode.
Okay.
But it tries to shift also by
But
itself.
you have to then.
So you just push it over,
All right.
and then you're kind of in the driver's seat at that point.
Cool. So now we have paddle shifters. Now I get to shift on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, those shifts are like quick. I don't really feel like it 100%. If you have a notion that this drives like an OCVT WRX, forget about it. It does not. It is like a regular automatic. And that's kind of like what they were going for, right? So obviously slowing down just like a regular automatic, it will. So we'll do one more loop, and I feel like this is pretty good. I want to try this this shifter out one more time. That was pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever raced any of the other guys in there?
You know
Their
what?
WRXs with this?
We haven't gotten a chance really too, because it's been winter months. So.
Oh yeah. So what does everybody else drive? Do they all drive Subarus over there?
We got a guy that has a Type R.
That white one that's outside?
BRZ. Some collaboration with Subarus. Our fabricator is really into A86s, so he's got a couple of those.
I do like the I do feel the steering wheel. It's like a little stiffer or like heavier versus like when it's like on comfort, it feels a lot better actually than even my car. Because that's one thing that I wish that we had, because I don't know when was the last time you drove a manual, but like it's so floaty. Mm-hmm. It is such a floaty steering wheel. Dude, that actually, I would probably even just leave that in auto mode to be faster. Like me having to actually think about clicking the shifter. So the way the steering alone feels is something that I wish that we had. Because even right now, I could not do this with my car. Like, you know, even with like the most perfect alignment, the car it just shifts a lot. I don't know why it is. It's such a soft steering wheel. I know they had like the dual electric pinion in there, but like just the way that it is.
My initial plan is actually to use this steering column and steering rack in the GC8 race car project.
Whoa.
That way we have that adjustability.
Dude, that actually would be amazing. I wonder when you do that, you gotta let me know, because I don't know if anybody's gonna, I know I can't drive 6 hours to document it, but I mean, once it's like maybe halfway done, or like, and then when it's done, I gotta see this car.
Absolutely.
That is gonna be incredible. This is really nice. And then if you can just guide us back.
Oh, you just go straight here.
Oh, straight here? Oh, okay.
Yeah, if we're lucky, this guy will just continue on. We can kind of rip in behind him.
And Graham tuned this car.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Man, that makes me want to get that does make me want to get a Cobb, because I have like a hodgepodge setup. I have a VA J-pipe that was catless, and we cut it and put a cat in it.
Okay.
And then I have my VA catback, which we cut to fit the stock J-pipe. We cut 4 inches off, but then we needed a right here. Yep. And then we had to weld 4 inches back on because we put a VA J-pipe on. So it is just a bunch of shit. Where do you want me to park it? Just in the back over there?
Just park in the lot. So.
Okay.
All right, so we just got back from the drive with Chris's WRX GT, and I gotta say, anybody who is still on the fence about whether they should get a manual or a automatic, and you're kind of worried that the automatic may not be good enough, or maybe you've driven the VA WRX and you drove that CVT, I understand, because I was the same way. And after driving this, I can tell you, especially if you're not gonna be doing a whole lot of heavy modification, it was actually a lot of fun to drive, and it felt nothing like what you would think a traditional CVT feels like. So if you're on the fence, don't even ask people, don't go to YouTube, just go straight to the dealership, drive a manual, drive an automatic, and then just decide for yourself, because really that's the only way. Chris, I want to say thank you so much for letting me come out here and do all this stuff. And you said I was the first person that you let drive this car since you got it tuned?
All right, so yeah, my wife hasn't even driven the car since I got it tuned. So it's the first time I've been in the passenger seat, so it was a little different.
How did it feel?
It felt good. Yeah,
it
felt smooth, and it definitely was a different angle here in the exhaust and feel the trans shift. So it was cool.
Dude, the way the transmission was shifting, the sounds it was making, it was like pop, pop, pop.
Yeah,
that's different.
It's really cool. Like no, it's definitely kind of what attracted me to it, even with the factory exhaust. It came with the factory axle back when I purchased it, so it was really droney and obnoxious, and so I wanted something a little quieter. This was definitely quieter, the Cobb one, but you know, it sounds really good when you're wide open. It
sounds
so
amazing,
super sick.
Actually, yeah. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I told you I was going to try to travel around the United States as much as I can to like different places. It just so happened that I was coming to Chicago, and I knew about this shop, and Graham has talked about it many times before. So if you're looking for a place to do any kind of Subaru work, whether it's like basic maintenance, or you want to build some crazy 800 horsepower car, or if you want to even FA24 swap some other random vehicle, this is the place to do it in Schaumburg. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.